So I want to thank everybody for coming. Part of the goal of this is the cupcakes and the schmoozing, as I've said a couple of times. We have folks visiting us from a number of our partner institutions, and we'll take a moment to introduce people in just a moment. So I'm just really thrilled. Like, the theme of today is all about partnership. The work that we do around transfer student success is all about the relationships that we have in Tacoma and our general overall ethic that the students that are here are our students. They're not mine or yours, or they're our students. So welcome to our event, which is all about transfer student success today. We have a really exciting lineup. I'm just so excited. I'm going to say that word a lot. So I want to thank everybody who helped sponsor this event internally. So my unit, Academic Success Programs, School of Engineering and Technology, the Division of Sciences and Mathematics in the School of IAS, and Enrollment Services. And then we have a ton of support from some external partners, many of whom are here right now. So Tacoma Community College, Highline College, Pierce College, Morgan State University, all the way over on the East Coast, the UW Community College Research Initiatives, and the staff from the Aspen Institute who are going to close us out. They're at a conference right now, so we had to schedule them like in between sessions at their conference. Just a little bit of housekeeping, and I'll put up the agenda. I noticed it's not super clear on the screen, but it's clearer for me. Just a couple of housekeeping items. So I know that we've got a bunch of people who are visitors today. So if you're looking for the restroom, if you go through the little hallway over there, they're on the left-hand side in the next building, but you don't have to go outside to get there. This is being recorded, so please use the microphone. We also have a number of friends on Zoom here with us today. So I will show you the participants list so you get a sense. So we've already got 13 folks visiting us on Zoom. So hi, everybody on Zoom. Sorry, we can't see you while we're sharing screen, but we'll show you in a moment. Please sign in. There's sign-in sheets when you first came in. It's really important to me that you sign in. That is your payment for the cupcakes. And then there are some assessment forms. We'll give you some time at the end to fill those out. And then the last announcement is just a point of personal privilege. I just wanted to let everybody local know, everyone at UW to know, you're going to be receiving an email relatively soon. We're doing a big outreach to students who have stopped out and inviting them back to UW Tacoma with a financial incentive. And so look for that email. You're kind of our biggest source of figuring out who those students are. So I thought I would take this opportunity to ask you that. So with that, I'm actually going to stop sharing for a moment and let Leandra start getting ready, because she's going to be the first person to speak. And we will go from there. So how do I make her here? Let me spotlight the speaker. All right, Leandra, you're up.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Yes, I won't be able to. Okay, great. So thank you so much for inviting me. I am thrilled to be here. I will probably also use the word excited a lot. I'm really, one of the reasons that this event is so exciting to me is that the transfer student success is the basis of the work that CCRI is working on right now. And the reason for that, one of the foundational tenets of our program, is that transfer is not just a curricular issue or degree completion issue. It's an equity issue, and we're really working through the STEM Transfer Partnership Program with that in mind. We're thinking about, as we expand transfer student success, we are expanding economic equity, educational equity. So this is some of the most thrilling work that can be done right now, to understand how what we do as post-secondary institutions really matters for the social impact for how different kinds of students access careers and education. So just a little bit about STEM Transfer Partnership. We've been working with some of the people that are here today, but others as well. Pierce, UW Tacoma, Highline, there are others. Through the STEM Transfer Partnership Program, I'll be calling it STP for short. In all, there are 9 teams. Each team has a 2-year institution and a 4-year institution that are working together to improve their partnership, to open lines of communication, whatever that particular partnership needs in order to expand access and improve transfer. And these teams, so there's 9 teams, there's 18 different institutions. They're from all across the state. And they are coming up with different kinds of interventions to engage low-income students, to recruit them into specific degree programs, to help them to improve program maps. Every partnership has a different set of interventions and programs that they are developing, implementing, and assessing as part of this overall part of the STP. And we're working, CCRI is working alongside them to support institutional transformation. And one of the reasons that this Elevate event today is really exciting to see is that one of the other tenet of STP is that we learn and improve and get really innovative ideas for sustainable institutional transformation when we come together as a broader community. So one of the activities of STP involves bringing the full community, all 9 teams, all 18 institutions together for biannual convenings. And one of the really, exciting new findings that we have from kind of tracking the progress is that when teams encounter obstacles to change, and I feel like anyone who's worked in higher education for any length of time has encountered this kind of resistance to change, be it bureaucratic or financial in many cases. One of the key supports that helps them to kind of come up with new ways to tackle these problems is finding inspiration from each other, from across institutions, looking at the institutional partnership that's going on in one place with, say, industry and a specific degree program, looking at the ways another team, for example, has leveraged their program to secure grant funding. I mean, there's a million different ways that it can manifest. And there's a lot of like the specific details of the programs and interventions. I'm hoping that more of that will be discussed, later on in the event. But they vary. Some of them are coming up with cross-institutional, undergraduate research opportunities, new program maps, new ways of advising that incorporate the program maps. And I won't say more about the details because I'm hoping that you'll have a chance to do that later today. But that's why this event is so exciting to me, because it draws upon a lot of what we're finding in terms of the benefits of community and how that can improve transfer for everyone. So that's all I have. I don't know who I'm handing it over to.
You're handing it to me. Thank you so much. So as you can see, that Leandra is here from the UW.
You're muted. I think you're muted, yeah.
Okay. As you can see, Leandra is visiting us from the UW Community College Research Initiatives program. But we have folks who are visiting us from a few different places. So in the interest of time, I was hoping we could just have people raise their hands. So we're going to ask, who is from UW Tacoma, who is in the room? A little more than half, but it's not everybody. Who is visiting us from Highline College? And who is visiting us from TCC? And who is visiting us from Pierce? Well, there's a few online. There's a few online as well. And then we have some partners who are visiting us from Graduate Tacoma. So from the Foundation for Tacoma Students who are online. So I see Elvin is here, and I think Rosie is here. And then we also have a few folks who are from the UW-T CCRI. And then in an hour or so, we're going to have folks from the Aspen Institute, which is a group you'll hear more about when I talk a bit about the Pierce partnership. Did I miss anybody? Is there somebody from another place that we can honor? And how about we honor everybody? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. So I am your first speaker. today. But I am representing a bigger team. So the first group we're going to hear about is the Aspen Institute Transfer Intensive. That's between Pierce and UW-Tacoma overall. Then you're going to hear about a CCRI project between UW-Tacoma and Pierce College focused on environmental science. Then you're going to hear about another CCRI project, but this one is between Highline and UW-Tacoma that's focused on engineering. And then you're going to hear about a Sloan-funded program between UW-T Engineering, TCC, and Morgan State. So that'll give you sort of the breadth of where we're going here. But you can see there's just a lot of excitement, and that is why we wanted to do this and get the word out about some of the cool stuff we're doing. So I am representing an amazing team of folks from Pierce actually a team from Pierce and UW-Tacoma. Shannon Carr is my project manager on this. And then we have a few folks who are here from Pierce. We have, we'll introduce the folks who are doing the CCRI in a moment, but we have Mike Work, who is actually no longer with Pierce, but was a major driver of this work. This was originally his idea, and he did a lot of the drafting of what I'm going to show you today. And then I'm not sure if online, James is there? Okay. So James Lett from Pierce, and then Matt Campbell from Pierce. That's kind of our driving team for this work. Oh, there you are, James. I see. Hi, James. Actually, James, let me stop sharing for a second. You just want to say hi? I don't know if you're in a space, you can just turn on your camera and say hello. There you are. Hi, James.
Hello. Good morning, or almost afternoon.
All right. And then I know Matt was planning on being here and had something took him sort of at the last minute. So what I'm about to show you is a presentation that the chancellors of Pierce and UW-Tacoma are about to give tomorrow to the Aspen Institute at our kickoff event. So you're kind of getting like the early preview. The reason they are giving this presentation is because they were asked to as keynotes for the Aspen Institute. So we're very, very proud. Very briefly about why transfer matters. I know we're going to talk about this a lot today, and so in the interest of time, I'm going to be sort of quick and just say specific to this partnership, there is a strong partnership already in place between Pierce and UW-Tacoma. As you can hear, we've got the CCRI team. We also have a shared advisor. So Brian, do you want to raise your hand? Brian is a shared advisor between UW-Tacoma and Pierce College. So he is in both institutions on a weekly basis. And so there's already quite a bit of partnership between our schools, which is not just everything we say about a partnership we have with a two-year. We are super excited about our partners with all of our 2 years, and we've got exciting things to say about everybody. But this is about UW-T and Pierce. So just to give you a sense of what the Aspen Institute looked like, the aim was to create a strategic transfer excellence plan. And we met about monthly. The blue dots were ones where the chancellors came. And the ones halfway through on the left-hand side was all about creating a shared vision statement. And then from the middle to the right-hand side was about actually turning that vision statement into practice. So we are at the kickoff that's going to be tomorrow, which is part of why we picked today as the day to do this Elevate. Who was in the room? So we had, at the time we had Michelle Johnson from Pierce, who is now retired, but Julie White has stepped in very ably, and then Chancellor Lang from UW-Tacoma. We had cabinet leads, which in our case were Matt Campbell and Mentha Hines-Wilson. We had project managers, which were myself, Shannon, James Lett, and Mike Work. And then we also had a lot of visitors. So the CCRI teams came, advisors came, IR was very involved in this. It was a really well-organized thing because Aspen kind of knew what they were doing and knew how to get us together and facilitate us. So this is who else was there. There were 16 teams. We're team number 14. Washington State University was there, which is exciting. But there were schools from all across the country involved in this Aspen intensive. Just very briefly about Pierce, because this is the presentation that the chancellors are giving tomorrow. I think the important thing to note is that about 2/3 of Pierce students identify transfer degree as their educational intent, with UW-Tacoma as the largest transfer partner. Pierce is considerably bigger than us here at UW-T, so 13,500 students annually, and just a really awesome place. Again, all of our two-year partners are really awesome places, but they've won a number of really notable awards based on some really exciting transfer work that they've done over at Pierce. Very briefly about UW-Tacoma. Again, this is the chancellor's version, so I'm going to try and keep that fairly short, but it's kind of cool to see what they're going to say about our different institutions. The thing I want to point out is Pierce College is the second most common transfer school, very close behind TCC. So TCC is our top transfer school, followed by Pierce, followed by Highline. And that's why y'all are in the room. And we remain 52% transfer here at UW-Tacoma. Those who are newer might not know we started as transfer only, where we only had juniors and seniors on campus. And that tradition has stayed here. It's very much part of our DNA. 40% of our students come from Washington Community and Technical Colleges. Okay, so for the Aspen Intensive, we did a focus group. So this was really cool. The focus group was facilitated by Dr. Ariana Ochoa Camacho from UW-Tacoma. And then the chancellors participated and the students, and that's it. So nobody else from our team was there. It was the chancellors, the students, and Ariana, or Dr. Ochoa Camacho, talking about their experience. And they were Pierce transfer students and UW-T transfer students. And some of the things we discovered from there, the experiences ranged pretty widely. Some talked about a very smooth experience, but as you started digging in, I remember Dr. Ochoa Camacho said, if people said smooth, it was really smooth, everything was wonderful. And then she asked, if you were to use one word for your transfer experience, what would it be? And someone said lonely. And then the next person said lonely. That's the word I would use. So it really showed me that asking the question in different ways got a little deeper into the answers. There was a lot about the shared programs that we have, the shared advisor, but one of the main highlights from Dr. Ochoa Camacho is that the transfer experience for most students in the focus group has lacked significant contact or support outside of existing social networks of students. Most students said they learned the most about transfer from their friends. There were few institutional resources that help students build communities of support, leaving them with lonely and highly individual experiences that depended on their existing resources, cultural capital, and ability to successfully navigate existing structures. So following this focus group, the chancellors got together and wrote their transfer vision for UW-Tacoma and Pierce College. So this is written by the chancellors. Nurturing student access and success through a seamless and supported transfer partnership that empowers student efficacy, enhances equitable outcomes, and increases bachelor's degree attainment to advance career progression, economic mobility, and racial and social justice. And they challenged us with these three framing values: that our programs should be barrier-free, equity-minded, and we should create pathways that connect. And so when we've been working on this, we kept saying, like, this is about UW-T and Pierce, but it's also about UW-T and our other partners, and it's also about Pierce and Pierce's other partners, right? So I think this vision probably stands for many of us in our work around transfer. So how is that going to be operationalized? So we are working on a dual admissions program between Pierce and UW-Tacoma. And I really want to shout out Shannon, who's really going to be the lead on our end for making sure that this works. And the idea is that by providing early acceptance to both institutions at the same time, it opens up lots of opportunities for shared experiences, sense of belonging, advising, just provides a way for us to know who those students are and start welcoming them to UW-Tacoma, start being more visible on the Pierce campus. Thinking of them as the theme of this, which is these are our students, right? We have been working on, again, I say we, but this has been a lot of Shannon's team and some folks at Pierce that have been working on some guided pathway transfer maps. So the maps at Pierce are sort of built into their Starfish system, and we're creating UWT specific maps in their system. So a student can kind of opt into that pathway and be on their way to a major at UW-Tacoma. We have a robust data sharing agreement and have started building a joint Tableau dashboard so that we can actually look at our students together. And then collaborative advising is something we have a great tradition of already, but building on the existing partnership and improving our equitable transfer advising. So that's basically the model that came from the vision that came from the work we've been doing together for a year, which included a focus group. So I'm just about out of time. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're at the point where we kind of know what the what is, and we're getting to the how. And so I'm really excited for tomorrow's big launch. So the chancellors are going to be giving this presentation. I see Vice Chancellor Hines Wilson is here. She is our cabinet lead for this project, as I introduced earlier. So we'll keep you posted on how this work goes, but you got to see this presentation. You got the early advance preview version of this presentation. So thank you for your attention. And we are going to switch now to continuing with Pierce and UW-Tacoma, but looking at the CCRI STEM focused work. And I will invite up Peter and Eddie. And is Lee going to be presenting?
Yes.
Okay. Will you figure out how to make that look right?
Yeah.
Turning it over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Selkin. Eddie, do you want to introduce?
Eddie Perry.
And let's get Lee to introduce himself online. Lee, can you unmute and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lee West, and I'm faculty at Pierce College.
Lee has a disembodied voice right now, but we'll show him on the screen. This is going to get really confusing because the three of us are presenting as not the only UWT Pierce collaboration, but also not the only CCRI collaboration. But we are the UWT Pierce College STEM Transfer Partnership in Environmental Science. So this is an environmental science focused group, and we are a fairly large group. You can see the names up there, and have been working with Leandra, who presented earlier. This is not advancing right there. Okay. Okay, so Lee, I think you are up for the first few slides here. So
Yeah, so something that we know is that many what I call STEM nervous students will often take environmental science as a science credit, often as an elective. And this is really just because it doesn't feel particularly intimidating. It has a pretty low barrier to entry. There are not a lot of prerequisites. And to us, that looked like an opportunity to perhaps recruit people into STEM who may not have an especially strong STEM identity. Now, how do we kind of relate this to low-income students? Well, what we know is that even if low-income students don't know this themselves, is that environmental issues disproportionately affect low-income communities. So for these low-income students, if we can spell this out to folks, we can sort of like take advantage of the sense of purpose that is possible to create for these low-income students. And we also know that environmental science is more popular among STEM courseware than other STEM coursework than other STEM courses. About 30% of our environmental science students are low income, and only about 20% of our STEM students overall are low income. So you put all of this kind of together and it's like, hey, this seems like a opportunity to recruit low-income students into STEM and into environmental science in particular. And this is, good for them because environmental science careers are well paid, but it's not kind of known that they're well paid. It's not something that's immediately obvious to folks. And the stat that I like to quote is that the median wage for environmental science professionals in Pierce County is about $90,000 a year, which is about 3 times the sustaining wage. And that's mostly for folks that have a bachelor's degree. So this is something that's kind of like, readily achievable for folks. Environmental science job openings are growing 2 to 3 times the national rate in Pierce County because we have a, industrial legacy that we've yet to kind of deal with. So these are good jobs that are easily accessible in our communities that are appealing to low-income folks. So where do we bring UWT into this? Well, we have a lot of exchange of faculty and administration between UWT and Pierce. So there's already kind of like interpersonal connections there. So there's a natural fit. I worked in the environmental science department at UWT for many years, and others on this project have as well. And we also know that about 43% of sorry, I've got to read here. About 43% of the total number of STEM majors transferring to UW Tacoma Environmental Science program from Pierce College are low income. And we know that, UWT is our major transfer institution, and Pierce the second largest transfer school to UWT. So really what we have is a sort of like a large potential for collaboration here and for growth here that hasn't really been realized. And the CCRI STP project kind of just gave us the framework to make this happen. And that's really our motivation.
I'm having trouble advancing the slides. So I do want to pause for a second and mention that a lot of the impetus for this project came from Lee and Eddie. From my perspective, I saw it from Lee and Eddie, who approached me in 2021 about applying for CCRI funding. And although I talk about the goals of this project as increasing transfer from Pierce College to UW Tacoma in environmental science, I think all of us agree that that these goals are sort of in a bigger picture context. That although the environmental profession in Pierce County is, it's a source of well-paying jobs, and it is growing, we would like to see the profession diversify, both in terms of race and ethnicity, but also in terms of providing opportunities for low income and rural students. And in particular, it's a way, the environmental profession is a way for students to find careers that give back to their communities. And so it is it is both a low barrier entry point to STEM, but also a way to make meaningful change. So in service of this, we, as a group, decided that curricular change was the way to go. And so a lot of our actions have focused on co-developing a course to be piloted at Pierce, and now this course is in the course proposal stage, right? Eddie will talk a little bit more about the details of it in a second. But the idea of the course is to provide a gateway to environmental science that engages students in high impact educational practices, particularly doing research with faculty members and with more senior students where there is student crossover between Pierce and UWT. So the course would involve, the sort of hallmark of the course would involve a research project where more senior students at Pierce, at UWT, are working with students who are taking an introductory level course at Pierce. This is also piggybacking on efforts that are going on with other through other means, the joint advising at Pierce and UWT, and the data sharing agreements through the Aspen Institute, in order to better understand. We're also developing some ways to collect information from the students who take this course to better understand and respond in a curricular way to the experience of transfer students. Eddie, you're up next. So if I'm going to switch places here.
How do we?
The slide advances, I think, the down arrow.
All right, course details. So I'd like to focus on a specific aspect of this that I'm the most excited about, which is oh yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. I speak really loudly. I taught for 10 years with no mic, so I don't feel the need to have one now. But that's just the centering of the BIPOC students and the BIPOC voices in this course. So some of the projects that we've thought about were Black and brown stakeholders in the community, such as local tribal scientists that we could partner with. But I think what we really are trying to focus on with the Black and brown excellence within the course is allowing these students to see how this information can be impactful to their own everyday lives, right? When we think about environmental racism, when we think about redlining and things of that nature, how can I make a living wage and have something positive to do with where I grew up? So there's that. And also, obviously, anytime we make transfer easier, it affects our students of color and our low-income students more. So I'm excited about this project. So I'm the Dean of Science at Pierce, and we cannot open enough environmental science sections. So let's just put that out there too, that they said there's an enrollment management piece to this too, of a very exciting it's a science class, but students who are non-majors in science also could take this, right? And they love taking environmental science. Is this Lee?
Yeah.
Lee, this is you, lessons learned.
Yeah, so thinking about our lessons learned, I think one of the most important things that we've done is we've learned how to develop a course from conception that is intended to address the needs of low-income students. So this course in its objectives is discussing how we're going to meet the needs of low-income students and how we're going to help people transfer. Our course objectives are not the table of contents of a textbook that you'll often see in course descriptions. They're completely different from that. And we spent a long time at the convening making sure we had those course objectives correct and that they reflected what the aims of this course were. So what we're hoping is that this provides a model for other faculty and administrators when they're thinking about course design. Something that is kind of that we're thinking about more and more is that our course is part of UWT's pathway, and we're thinking about how our pathways work together. So there are a lot of kind of, administrative barriers and competing priorities when you design a course of this type, because, we have to define the course, but we have to also think about how it fits into a pathway, how it fits into degree requirements, and we have to do that across multiple institutions. And to be honest, it feels like these components, at Pierce at least, are disjointed. So what I'm hoping is that perhaps this project will lead to some positive changes, so those things are more integrated. And what we can recognize and is that the introduction of guided pathways has definitely increased our administrative load and made it more difficult to get courses approved because we have to think about multiple things now. And so I think there will be some kind of readjustment in the coming years. It's difficult to design new curriculum, and I think that what's really made it possible for us to achieve or to develop this course is that we had the support of Eddie and other folks, and also the money from the CCRI STP project. So that really allowed us to give faculty course release and to, just allow them to kind of like use the skills that they had. I don't think that would have happened, or that this course would not have been designed if we didn't have this project established. It would have taken much, much longer to make that happen. So I think something else that we've really learned is we have a good overview of who our students are, how they transfer, the reasons that they select the courses that they do that we never had before. The CCRI project required us to dive into the data and just really examine those things from the ground up. And I think that, me as a faculty member, I never really quite understood who my students were and what their aspirations were. I'm just checking a few other things here. I will just sort of, one of the big things that we've kind of really struggled with is how do we make this happen in sort of like, every class consistently, rather than be just sort of a few enthusiasts who are able to offer this experience to students. And so this requires kind of like quite a bit of planning, to get this embedded into the department and across the two departments, and particularly having this cross campus interaction of students. There were a lot of lessons learned there as to how we were going to get that to work. So I think, yeah, that really kind of summarizes our lessons learned.
Great. That's it, right? Thanks, Lee. I'm going to see if I can show your face so people can actually see you on here. How do we do this? Stop share. There we go. All right. There's Lee. Here, let me view speaker. Yeah, you want to say?
Oh no, that's awful. It's a giant me.
So thank you very much to our Pierce partnership. Next up, we're going to be hearing from the Highline CCRI partnership. So we're moving from our Pierce Love Fest to our Highline Love Fest.
Hi, everyone. So we are the second partnership at UW with Highline College, representing engineering programs. We have a long title, and I just want to highlight the first part of that, from cooperation to alliance. So the CCRI team at UW Seattle, they have publications in the literature. They came up with a framework that shows the progression of this level of partnerships for transfer student support. Cooperation being at the lower level, and alliance is the ultimate goal when partnerships are elevated to as much support as possible for these students. So that's the basic goal. And let me see if my technology skills work. I think I got it. So first, I'm going to introduce you my team or our team. I'm Emese Hadnagy. I'm one of the project co-leads on the UW-Tacoma team.
I'm Kira King. I'm the other UW-Tacoma co-lead, and I'm one of our advisors. Microphone.
Oh, sorry.
For those on Zoom, I'm Kira King. I'm our other co-lead for the UW-Tacoma side, and I'm an advisor in SET.
And I'm Alea Dungy. I'm physics faculty at Highline College, and I'm co-lead with Timur.
Timur Kuzu, the Mesa director at Highline.
We also have several other faculty members and staff members representing a variety of roles and organizations within our respective institutions. And we are also going to attempt to pull off a similar presentation how a Pierce team did collaboratively. So this is on purpose as well. So we really want to highlight that collaboration, intentional collaboration, especially between faculty and staff who represent often a variety of goals that they need to fulfill, a variety of motivation for a shared goal, how that can help us. We also have several supporting people in supporting roles. Bonnie is one of them. We thank her. Thank you, Bonnie, so much for the support, and many others who are not listed on this slide. We've been working with Katie Kovacic from the CCRI team. I think I've seen Katie on the Zoom call. And so shout out to her as well. So our approach has been a little more overarching, not just focusing on one particular thing. We do have a history of partnership with Highline College. And as mentioned earlier, Highline College is one of the top institutions, one of the top 4. They are a little further geographically, so I think right now it's the 4th place. So we are trying to move that meter a little higher up because I sense a little competition going on here. We'll do our best. We all agree that every institution is very important for our students and for UWT. So we started from examining our existing partnership and thinking about how we can take a holistic approach. What would be the important categories to think about? And we came up with 3 categories: our institutional goals, program goals, and student goals, because we want to be very student-centered. So when we started looking at the institutional goals, metrics, of course, come up first. So thinking about increasing graduation and retention rates or closing the equity gap, that's always very important. But we wanted to also pull in the notion that both our institutions want to serve our communities, and it's part of our mission. So we wanted to make sure that's part of our work. For program goals, enrollment numbers is top of the mind for everyone, especially with the impact of the pandemic. But we wanted to make sure that we specifically reach out to underrepresented student population, low-income students, because they often bear the brunt of the impact during the pandemic and even before that. And of course, as educators, advisors, support staff for students, we always want to seek the best way to improve how we prepare our students for their careers. It's what they do after they leave us that is the most important. And then we try to put on our student thinking hat to think about what would be the goals that students should achieve. What do we want our students to be able to achieve? Of course, they want to achieve their academic and career goals at whatever formulation stage they have at this point in their career. We want them to graduate on time, preferably with not too much financial burden and any other types of burdens that they might face. We want them to feel valued, part of the community, that they feel that they belong, and to have a meaningful educational learning experience. So now I'm going to pass it on to.
So a little bit about Highline College, and we are serving around 13,000 to 17,000 students. And so when we survey incoming students, engineering is the 2nd largest program of interest for students. And given that transfer students tend to be more BIPOC or older students or non-traditional students, we really want to see how can we recruit more diverse students into engineering. We come from an MSI, minority serving institution. 70% of our students are students of color. That's one of the largest in the country. 50% are first-generation college students. So it's an excellent opportunity to recruit students into engineering and diversify our STEM workforce. We offer multiple engineering degrees. So there is a general engineering, but also the major ready programs in the specific engineering disciplines. And so we have a high support environment, small class size, there's MESA, there's TRIO, but also we are one of the schools pursuing guided pathways. And so there's a lot of institutional momentum. And we are seeking to first, create first-year experiences that build sense of belonging, provide holistic supports for students to stay on the pathway, provide that educational planning, and then also anti-racist pedagogy so that by the time students graduate, not only do they get that learning in the classroom, but the support out of the classroom so they can connect what they learn with their next steps. Timur.
That didn't seem, oh,
All right. So this is where Mesa comes in at Highline. Since we were already on campus and we were 100% student support, our students, the network, the recruitment, and especially since we have a high base of engineering students in my Mesa program, the Mesa program is a state program. It's a transfer prep program. So a lot of the students that come to Highline, as long as they are intended to transfer to a four-year institution, we will help them. We are one of 12 Mesa programs in the state, along with TCC, and we, my colleague, and just to echo the sentiment, when the students come there, the community, the support, the term family is used all throughout the campus and the program, because a lot of these students are coming from the same communities, backgrounds, and it really provides them with a sense of relief when they come on campus and they see other students studying STEM. Some of the things that we do focus on, every Mesa program does have their core pillars, but we do have a little bit of autonomy and freedom to transform it for our location specific. For academic support, our embedded tutoring program is something we take pride in. Our tutors are hired from the student base, but they actually attend the classes that they're going to be tutoring in, and they partner with the faculty. So that way the workshops and the tutoring that is designed for STEM students are specific to what that professor or the faculty is teaching. Some of the experiential learning activities would be the internships or mentorship programs. That is one of the, I guess you would say the favorites for my location is we have a mentorship program currently with Microsoft. The first two cohorts did so well that the third cohort is going to double in size. And that's a chance for these students to actually pair up with a computer programmer at Microsoft for 6 months. You don't want me telling them what they're going to be doing at Microsoft, so we're going to pair them up with an actual computer programmer. This industry tours, we did a tour with TCC again and Green River Mesa, which you'll see on the next slide. And that is a chance to expose them to those STEM industries so they can talk to the people actually in the career fields, what they're doing and how they can bridge the gap from school to industry. And then our university visits, we field trips, campus visits. We love to take trips, UW Tacoma, UW Seattle. We're now booking our spring trips for our location to Western Washington. And then in the falls, when we take our big trips out to Washington State and Eastern Washington. And as you see from the slide here, a couple of pictures. The two pictures here on the slide in the lab is our trip to Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center. And the students were amazed. They couldn't stop talking about it. They actually got to go in there and work with lab technicians and processing DNA. My partner was Adrienne from TCC, and she had to show me what I was doing in the lab. But this is a big part of it. The students, we wanted to get them the exposure, not just to the STEM industry, but as well as our universities. And then the picture there of our two graduates, when we say family, this is where it comes back to center because these two Highline Mesa students are actually sisters. They joined Mesa, they graduated together, now they're both gone to med school together.
So just very briefly, an introduction to the engineering programs in the School of Engineering and Technology. We have 4 such programs. The first one was computer engineering, established about a decade and a half ago. And you can see for a long time, that was the only engineering program. And in the past 5 to 6 years, first electrical engineering came as the second program, and then mechanical engineering. We have Heather Dillon here, my colleague who is chairing that program. And I'm chairing the civil engineering program that just started this year. There were a total 150 students enrolled in, or are enrolled in these engineering programs currently in this current academic year. So these are junior and senior students. And as mentioned earlier, over half of UWT students come from 2-year institutions, and they are a very important part of our student cohort. We looked specifically at data telling us how many STEM transfer students are there at UWT. And on average, these are 10-year average values, 13% come from Highline College. So we saw that there is room for improvement there. The range was 11 to 17%. And when we looked at the cohort of students coming from Highline into STEM majors, only on average, 4% of them go into engineering. The range was 0 to 9%, so very low. And why is that important? I would like to direct your attention to the right of the slide with those highlights. These are high demand jobs, very well paying high demand jobs. Washington State is an importer of engineering talent. We can do better in our region and statewide as well. All of our programs still have capacity. And we also think, as mentioned earlier in connection with environmental science, which is also valid for engineering, that there is a large group of students who are not reached effectively, who can become very talented engineers if they receive the support and mentoring that they need early on. So that is our background. And then next, Alaya will talk about the why and our plan.
So shout out to CCRI for doing a wonderful job of bringing everyone together to brainstorm and create a vision statement. And so we knew from anecdotal evidence, through advising sessions and teaching and such, that our students were facing multiple barriers. There's this idea first, how do we increase awareness about different options, different career paths? How do we increase awareness about resources and institutional supports? How do we cultivate a sense of belonging? So from all that together, we came up with our team why statement that we want to increase knowledge of engineering programs and careers, successful outcomes for graduation and transfer, and a greater sense of belonging and community for our underserved and low-income students. Okay. So using that, we came up with our action plan, and we decided to first focus on 3 areas. And those are advising, recruitment, and career awareness, and data sharing and student input. So we have already started implementing some of these actions. We have a joint transfer checklist in place, specifically for transferring from Highline to UW-Tacoma, because many students were unclear about the policies and procedures. We have had UW-Tacoma advisors come to campus, visit classes. We're having a tour tomorrow to the engineering labs and mechanical engineering. And the very foundation of all this started with data sharing. So we now have a data sharing agreement in place. And one thing we wanted to be very careful about was to have a holistic data model, because often our academic structures, they are siloed and they do not reflect students' lives. Our students' lives are not divided into nice compartmentalized departments, but they all interplay together. So we know that students face a lot of uncertainties around whether they're fit for engineering, whether they're smart enough, and they face these financial pressures. Many have had to work, and that work has increased because of pandemic, loss of income. We know they have to navigate 2 very different institutional procedures for advising, for academic planning. We know that balancing academics with out-of-school obligations has been a challenge. So these were some key questions we came up with. And what we wanted to do was to supplement the institutional quantitative data on completion rates with the qualitative data. What is the student experience? Like, how do we have student voice in our action plan, and not just in a one-shot way where we do a survey or focus group, but where we have a longitudinal equity-based data collection, and we're consistently checking in with students and tracking how their experience changed in time.
So in the interest of time, I'm going to forego this slide, but just know this is, we had a survey that we asked students who are currently enrolled in Highline College, who are intending to transfer to engineering programs. And then we surveyed all of our current UW-Tacoma junior cohorted engineers to kind of get their experience in their first transfer. And so some really key 3 themes emerged from each institution. On the Highline side of things, we found that math placement was a really big barrier for students, especially for students that placed below college level math when pursuing engineering, which has significant amounts of math embedded. It was very frightening for many students to think about how much time they're going to be investing in their experience. And so that's something our group is going to be working on. kind of helping students with the efficacy and self-advocacy in that portion. We also discovered that a lot of students seek information from online college websites, which wasn't shocking to us. But what was, I think, a little bit surprising for all of us was that over 50% of the Highline students shared that their faculty helped them decide where to transfer. And so this really speaks to us about the mentorship and faculty advising that students get at their community and technical colleges before making their decision to transfer. On the UW-Tacoma side of things, it wasn't surprising that the majority of students shared the reason they chose UW-Tacoma was because it was close to home. It had small class sizes, you got to know your faculty very well, and the reputation of the program. They also shared that the majority of their information came from our websites. So I think this is a call to action for all of us at UW-Tacoma to really make sure we are updating our websites routinely, knowing it's a huge source of information for our students. And the biggest barrier that students shared kind of transferring to us was that they had a lot of competing information about what courses they needed to take at the 2-year college and the 4-year college. And we're getting different sets of information depending on who they asked for. And so that's something for us to think about in joint advising roles that like Pierce College has, that's so beneficial to think about how students get the same information no matter what institution they're at. And so with that, I will turn it over to MJ.
And in interest of time, I'll be brief because I knew when Bonnie said 10 minutes, this will be a tall order, especially for faculty to talk only so shortly, but apologies if we go over. So as a next step, this theme of peer mentoring emerged as we were working on these items that you just heard about. And we would like to implement a small pilot program when we pair up students who already transferred with students who are still at Highline College, with the hopes that they'll help them navigate the transfer process, but also start to form that community, and hopefully with added benefits of personal growth and development of leadership, communication skills, and maybe even some engineering skills. We welcome any input on that from all of you in the room, because I'm sure many of you are working on similar things. These are our 3 takeaway points, and they are just reiterating what we talked about. We are aiming to create success pathways through streamlining academic advising and removing barriers that exist at our institutions. As you could see, the data has potential for significant impact. We are focusing on recruitment as well to support our institutional, but also students' goals. And we are very deliberate in our collaboration efforts. We would also like to just thank institutional support from all those who were mentioned, but our dean also in the School of Engineering and Technology, and many others again. And thank you for your attention, and if you have questions, you can reach us at these.
Thank you. So we're moving from our Highline Love Fest over to our TCC Love Fest. And I know we're running a little bit later than expected, but know that I planned for that, and it'll be fine. We've got plenty of time. We don't have plenty of time. It's 10 minutes, but we're going to be fine. I'm not going to cut you guys short or anything.
Well, we knew we were last, so we only have 3 slides.
One last thing. Sorry. If I'm seeing people sort of coming and going, it is super important to me that you fill out the sign-in sheet.
So we have 3 really packed slides, but we did know we were at the end. So I'm Heather Dillon. I'm University of Washington Tacoma Mechanical Engineering. We have an amazing, great, huge team. Part of them are with me here today, so I'd love to just have them each introduce themselves. Rebecca, come say hi.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Sliger. I am an engineering professor at Tacoma Community College.
Hi, I'm Angela Kitali. I'm a professor here at University of Washington Tacoma Civil Engineering Program.
I'm Adrian Scarcella, and clearly I love TCC.
Yeah, that's Mesa. we have some other collaborators from Morgan State University. It's a little bit longer commute for them to come. But I did want to just give a shout out to them. In particular, one of our leaders for the program is Karen Watkins Lewis. Her background is uniquely well suited to this work because she actually has an undergraduate degree in engineering, and then she has a PhD in psychology. She's helping us. She's an expert on sort of engineering identity and how that looks for us. So our Morgan State collaborators have been great as well. And we just wanted to share with you a little bit. Oh, I broke it. Wait, I got everyone. We just wanted to share with you a little bit about our project. So our project was funded through the Sloan Pathways, and we're ambitiously trying to increase the number of women and BIPOC students that are going on to graduate programs. So we don't just want them to succeed in engineering programs. We want them to go on to graduate degrees and join the faculty ranks or whatever research careers might make sense to them. We know that undergraduate research experiences are high impact practice. Our whole program is built around structuring undergraduate research experiences so students can build community and a sense of belonging. So we have sort of two main elements. The first is that the students participate in some sort of research. So this could be a summer research position that's paid, or it could be something embedded in a course-based research experience. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Then in their senior year, we have this idea of a mentoring course-based research experience where we're mentoring them in how to actually complete graduate applications, write those essays. How do you get funding to go to the PhD programs, especially preparing them for what sort of culture shock they might also experience if they go to one of these, high or big research institutions that are also typically predominantly white institutions. So we're trying to kind of work through all of that in this course that they would take the year before they finish their time with us. And we're planning to offer this course, and we've actually run it as a pilot this last fall, and this will be offered at UW-Tacoma and Morgan State is our hope. The other piece of this is where the transfer piece really comes in. What we're doing at the junior year or earlier is trying to figure out how we create these partnerships. And we're so grateful for TCC, our TCC partners. They have been amazing in trying to help us create a sense of community with the first couple of years of a student, even in a community college. And so I feel like I'm going to break this if I do this, but I want to go back to this first page. This is actually one of our students that came through last summer, and she did a summer undergraduate research experience. She came from TCC. So she came after her sophomore year as she was starting into our mechanical engineering program. And so she had worked with both Rebecca and Adrian, and they helped her find her way into this program. And in this particular picture, they're testing different wave energy devices. That was the summer experience that we had for the students. And Amy is actually now doing an internship at NASA. So in case you were wondering if the students were successful, no doubt about that. So I think that this is kind of a fun program in that we're trying to be really mindful about how we program these undergraduate research experiences in. This coming summer, we're planning to offer the summer experience. Again, for students, we're trying to bridge this between their community college experience and their UW-Tacoma experience, because we do understand, several of the other teams brought it up, how do you build this sense of community? How do you get through that transfer hurdle successfully? And what's nice about it is we're connecting our students to our upperclassmen, the seniors that are already in the program. They're giving them tips on which classes to take. All of those things around building community that's coming from this transition course. It's almost like a bridge course, but it's focused on research. They're also getting the research experience that they can use to build up their resumes and look amazing to employers like NASA. So it's got a lot of moving parts, but it's a really thoughtful way to really pull all of these high impact practices around research. One of the other things I wanted to mention, and this is also relevant, is we had a planning grant through Sloan, and one of the things we're most proud of is we spent a lot of time in the last year trying to ask for additional money. So we actually submitted more than $1 million in funding requests to external agencies this last year. And we have several that are pending. One of the other things that we're doing with our faculty is we're sending out this project, this Research Pathways Sloan project, to all of our colleagues in other engineering programs saying, hey, if you're writing a grant to the NSF about, I don't know, geophysics or whatever it is that you do, just consider including funding for 2 or 3 undergraduate research students per year. You can pay them in the summer to work on your special, awesome, amazing cure cancer thing. And then we're going to pull them into our pathway, put them into this program in the fall of their senior year so we can get them into graduate programs. We're also going to help them with coaching them through the paper writing process because our faculty and our students need those publications in order to, be competitive for those awards. And so I just want to give a shout out to Angela. One of the things that she did this last year is she led a big research grant to the Department of Transportation. I don't know, Angela, did you have anything else you wanted to say about that?
Nothing much. We are really, really excited. So this is a 5 years program. We're going to get like some funds to work on research, and I'm really, really excited. I'm very passionate about introducing research to undergraduate students. So with funds, it's just going to be much more easier.
So this is an example of how we're pulling in our hard research and our experience for our students together. And then I know we're a little bit tight on time, but we also are really proud. We just drafted a paper for ASEE that'll be published, we hope, this June. It's currently in review, but that's something we're also really excited about. And I think there's time afterwards for people to come chat with us. If you have students that might be interested in our summer research bridge thing, please let me know. We'd be happy to have students from other community colleges. I mean, of course, TCC, but we'd love to have people from other community or students from other community colleges as well. And I think Rebecca wanted to say something about more collaborative things.
So I just wanted to make sure everyone in the room had heard of our Washington Council for Engineering and Related Technology Education. So this organization has been around since the 1970s. It actually predates my professional career, believe it or not, though not unfortunately me. So this has been around for a long time. It's got all of the universities and community colleges that offer engineering sitting at the same table. We're the ones that actually developed the major ready pathways. So when you see those out there, if you think, gosh, that should change, your opportunity is by coming to a WSERTI meeting. That's our quick way of saying the Washington Council for Engineering and Related Technology Education. It's considered a national best practice. We got to go to talk to the National Academy of Engineering, because believe it or not, a lot of other states, there isn't the great transferability that we have here. The other reason I wanted to mention that was because there was some conversation earlier about making sure that students get consistent advising. And WSERTI's put together a bunch of spreadsheets that essentially show using community college common course numbering, which classes they should take, and the universities get direct input in terms of what it says, and there's little blurbs on the back. So if you're not sure, I know UW has been very good about making sure theirs is all up to date, but that's all there. So you think, I really want to go to the Washington Council for Engineering and Related Technology Education. It's a great thing because TCC is actually hosting the spring meeting. It's May 4th and 5th. May 4th is, we're going to have a dinner over a Thai restaurant over by the Silver Cloud in Point Ruston. And then the morning session will all be over at TCC, so no commute whatsoever. All right, hope to see many of you there. Including me.
And I think I'll just wrap up our thinking around this grant with this third bullet point here. I think that for us, a lot of what we're doing, many of us are really passionate about. I think you can feel that passion in the room, but I think sometimes how we do that work is as important as the work that we are doing. And I think that one of the things our team is most proud of is the fact that we've really built this great collaborative relationship. And I think eating Thai food is an important piece of that. But basically, how do we get to know each other, spend that quality time eating Thai food, cupcakes, whatever it is, and getting to know one another. So I think that's how I'd like to close, is we'd love to get to know all of you a little bit better. If there's ways we can work with more of you, we're happy to have that conversation. So thanks for coming.
So thank you. So 4 teams from multiple institutions. So almost every team that presented here was from multiple schools, right? Just super excited and proud of all of the work that y'all are doing and having an opportunity to be able to celebrate you. So let's get a round of applause for all of the groups. So we're going to turn things over to our friends from Aspen in just a moment. I just was wondering if there's anybody on here from the Sloan group. I see Cheryl is here. Cheryl is on that Sloan group. Just making sure we get a shout out to you. So hello, Cheryl from Zoom land. And so our last speakers are going to be Heather and Jaime from the Aspen Institute. And they'll have about 5 minutes to close us out, and that'll give us about 10 minutes for some schmoozing and cupcakes, as we said, is a very important part of this. Please make sure you have signed in. There's assessment sheets around. Those are your payments for those cupcakes. And with that, I will turn it over to our guests and mute up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a fun group. Oh my gosh, I want to have cupcakes and eat Thai food with y'all. It sounds like you're having a wonderful, wonderful time. My name is Heather Adams, and I really do wish we were there with you. I think we might need to come up for a visit soon. Thank you so much for the invitation to join today. We're really excited to have worked with UW-T for the past year, along with your partners at Pierce College. And I can't even tell you how incredibly excited we are by what we're seeing and hearing from you all. In fact, we are here at the National Institute for the Study of Transfer Student Conference in Portland, Oregon, and I can't wait to brag on you to all the transfer advocates who are here with us this week. So just a quick introduction of who I am and who Jaime is. My name is Heather Adams. I'm Associate Director of our Community College Transfer Initiatives at the Aspen Institute. And Jaime, I'll hand it to you for your introduction.
Thank you so much, Heather. And hello, everybody. Also very bummed out to not be having Thai food with you all tonight. My name's Jaime McCarthy. I'm an associate at the Aspen Institute, working primarily on the operationalization of a lot of our initiatives. So we're going to talk hopefully pretty quickly so you can get to cupcakes. And we're going to talk mostly about one of our key initiatives called the Transfer Intensive. What is the intensive and what have UW-T and Pierce been working on for the last year? Well, the intensive is a collaboration between the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, or ASCU, and Aspen, and it's been funded by Ascendium. And the general idea is that we can provide teams of community colleges and four-year institutional partnerships a free year-long initiative designed to strengthen cross-sector collaboration and improve transfer student success and equity outcomes. So here's a quick look at our early transfer intensive members. We were originally, whenever we were thinking through this project, we're going to serve 8 to 10 teams of 16 to 20 institutions. But as you all know, transfer's having a moment, and we ended up expanding the pool to a total of 71 institutions and 2 systems from about 25 states. As you can see, Washington's a very engaged state. We're also very happy to have had Washington State, Vancouver, and Clark College, and Western Washington University and Olympic College on board for the past year. Pretty broad swath of institutions, 21 rural and small town, 50 suburban and urban, and 27 minority student institutions. And just really quickly, across these 2 cohorts, you're serving around 12,700 students annually between those one-to-one partnerships. And from the data, we know that only about 50% of these are transferring, completing their BA in 6 years. So through the intensive, you're really part of a national effort to tackle this. I'll turn it over to Heather.
Absolutely. I was just giving you snaps, Jaime. That was the interrupting, because I couldn't agree more. You are really national exemplars. And from the work that we do across the country, researching best practices, you're definitely making transformational change. So the series, as Jaime said, includes a year of monthly sessions aimed at advancing practices and policies associated with improved and more equitable transfer student success. That's the broad goal. The really specific aim of the Transfer Intensive is to stop nibbling around the edges of transfer. I heard some of that conversation in your presentations today, and really spend a whole year zooming out and looking at the big picture of transfer, the system issues with transfer, and creating together in partnership a shared transfer vision, a vision that also has transformational models that will allow you to realize that vision. And then ultimately some strategic practice priorities that will help you establish and accomplish the model, which will help you realize the vision. So this whole transformational process is called the Strategic Transfer Excellence Plan, or the STEP. And this is used for internal or external communication, for your transfer student success strategy at your institution. Maybe it's embedded into your larger equity initiatives or your institutional strategic plan. But the idea is to systematize transfer and get beyond just those small, wonderful practices and into institutionalizing that sense of belonging and that student-centered student experience that you were all talking about earlier. So the team worked in these two phases. The first phase of the transfer intensive focused on setting that bold transfer goal, shared goal between the two institutions, and the transformational model that the team wanted to realize. And then the second phase is much more about the strategies and the practices that the team wants to prioritize in terms of operationalizing that vision.
So what did that look like in practice? Well, it looked like a lot of time with Heather, myself, and the rest of our Aspen team. We had monthly sessions informed by the phases of the intensive, as Heather just mentioned. So those included strategy sessions, focusing on core themes, providing information on specific practices, spotlighting guest speakers who are experts in transfer, and allowing team time towards working through toward those strategic transfer excellence plans. And transfer think tanks, increased team time. Our personal favorites were the Transfer Lounge office hours. These were essentially just moments in time for participants to come in and talk about transfer at their institutions, things that maybe didn't have to do with the curriculum that we were providing, but they're facing on their campuses. And I know at different points, James, Bonnie, Mike Wark would come in and say, this is, we had a great student focus group, and this is what we learned. And this was probably the best way of institutions being able to learn from one another, and us from you all as well. And then lastly, some consulting hours. As folks have seen different transitions occur, we're on hand to provide a little bit of an orientation to the intensive and just see if there's any other ways that we can support. So the team, writ broadly, whenever we say team, it means not just one institution, it's not just UWT, it's not just Pierce, it's both institutions. You're a partnership along this journey. And, we have plenty more details along what that entails, but we've had been very lucky with your institutions to have folks across different divisions. Your president's very engaged, and we're looking forward to see that work continue past your time with us. And really just a quick look at what you accomplished together. You put together a really promising plan for the next phase of your transfer work. And we're excited to tomorrow, actually during our launch session, highlight you as essentially co-valedictorians for your cohort of 35 institutions, along with your colleagues at Lorain County Community College and Cleveland State University. Your CEOs are going to be there and are going to present for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes to the rest of the cohort on your institutional background, historically, the work that you've done together, and what that next step is going to look like with this step, not to be too on the nose there. And Heather, is there anything else that you'd want to add there before we close it up?
No, really just that the reason that you all are keynotes tomorrow at the launch is because we saw transformational change in your step. And, and that's not easy. It took a year of big picture thinking. And I know that can be really, really difficult, especially when we're in our everyday jobs at an institution and we tend to want to get into the weeds on the things we can control. But you all spent this entire year thinking big and thinking broadly and thinking boldly about transfer. And I just really, I want to elevate that and congratulate you for that. As a former transfer student myself, it really does make a difference. We're seeing it with some students that we've even talked to this week at the conference. So thank you for making that effort and putting in that time. It's very important work, and we're seeing the benefits and the change and the impact of it.
Thank you all so much. And James, Bonnie, and others have our contact information if folks have any other questions related to our broader portfolio of transfer work. But we're really excited to see what the future holds for UW-T, and not just Pierce, but all of your other partners as well. So cheers to you all, and we'll see you soon.
Can I ask you just one quick question? Are
Yes.
you doing another transfer intensive next year?
Such a good question. We are hopeful. We are waiting with bated breath for funding for possibly 2 more cohorts. So it does look promising. We don't know for sure yet, but you will definitely be some of the first people to know when we hear.
The last thing before I release you for Schmoozing and Cupcakes, which has gotten rather short, but as you can see, there's much excitement from all of these teams, is to invite you to return to us in April. So April 17th, we're going to be focused on career education and specifically purposeful pathways through college. It will be located here, but it'll be later in the day. It will once again feature cupcakes, which is an important part of this series. And it will also feature a cross-institutional team, including some folks who are here today from TCC, from Foundation for Tacoma Students and others. So thank you. Round of applause to everybody. Thank you so, so much. And with that, the folks in the room are welcome to have cupcakes and schmoozing. Everybody else, thank you so much for attending on Zoom today.